Like the front post stitch creates texture in the front, the back post stitch creates some raised texture in the back. It's worked in the same manner as the front post stitch, so we're going to do one here. So the front post stitch, we went around the post from right to left or left to right if you're a lefty. But for the back post stitch, you do through the back. So we're going to go through the back and go from right to left or left to right. So the stitch, it's kind of confusing if you're, thinking of it as the front post stitch. You would think you would go through the front of the post like that. But think of it this way. Front post stitch, the stitch is going to be in the front, so we're going to make the stitch in the front here. The back post stitch, the raised part's going to be in the back, so we're going to make the back raised here. So to do the back post stitch, we're going to do a double crochet. So wrap around first, insert your hook around the post from right to left or left to right if you're a lefty. It's going to look like that. Make sure you don't go through these holes up here and through it. You just want to go in the space around the stitch. Grab your yarn and pull it through, and then finish your double crochet. This makes the raised stitch on the back of the fabric instead of the front. So the front, your stitch is going to still be here. So when you're making the next one, if you were going to stitch into the V, you need to make sure you're stitching into the right one. So this is our stitch, and then that's the V for that stitch. So we want to make sure if we stitch into the next V, it's this one. But we're just going to do a couple more raised back post stitches. So go in, pull the loop through, and then finish the double crochet. See how this kind of makes a ridge in the front, but our stitches are raised in the back. Knowing the front post stitch and the back post stitch is great for creating ribbed fabric. These stitches are usually used together, so you really need to learn both of them. If you want to do a ribbed fabric, all you have to do is we did a back post stitch here, so the next stitch would be a front post stitch. And you just can continue that manner across the piece. Now I started with some regular double crochet stitches, so that won't look very right. So I've made a ribbed fabric swatch for you to see. See how you can see the ribbing, and it's very stretchy. Ribbed fabric is nice and stretchy, and it's great for making, the sleeve, a cuff of a sleeve, or the cuff of a mitten, or to make a nice stretchy headband. And it's really warm because it's like doubled up, and it's really squishy. See how thick this is? And the back looks just the same because we did one front post and then a back post, front post, back post, front post, back post. And when you're doing this, when you turn the round, you have to remember to do the opposite. So this first row, we did a front post and then the back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, and so on. On the next side, when we flipped it over, we do a back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, front post. And it's a lot easier to understand whenever you're actually doing it because you're just watching the fabric. And so if you did a, so if we were turning this one, we ended with a front post, so this one's going to be a back post because we already have the raised stitch in the back. So you just go around that one. And then you go around the front one because it's already raised. So you're just kind of following what you've done on the first row. And see my ribbing starting right there. Another stitch you can do with combining both the front post and back post stitches is kind of a waffle type fabric. This is really pretty. It makes a really pretty hat. It's really thick, so it's really comfy. And to do this one, you just do a front post, back post, front post, back post, back post on the same one. And instead of doing the same stitch on each row, you're doing a different one. So the next stitch we would do back post, front post, back post, front post. I know that's a tongue teaser, but It's really easy once you start doing it. So you just opposite the stitch on each row on this one, and this one you're doing the same stitch on each row. And this creates a nice little waffled fabric. So those are the two front post and back post stitches. And this is a regular piece of double crochet fabric. So you can kind of see how creating a rib texture or a waffle is much more interesting than just this boring old swatch of double crochet. These stitches will always be indicated in the pattern, and most pattern designers will not tell you to do a rib. They'll tell you how to do the ribbing and which stitches you need to use, so you can follow that. But again, if you were just, wanting to make a ribbed headband, you just make it as many stitches around as your head and create the ribbing, and then you would be done.